So with all of that, I think you're now ready to dominate implicit waits. And so, of course, I have a quiz for you, a fun little exercise that I've created for you to cement all of your knowledge. Let's talk about this exercise very quickly. So one thing I want to clarify again is that there are basically two types of exceptions that are thrown. There's an exception thrown that is called element not visible exception. And guess when that exception is thrown by Selenium? Well, when an element is not visible in the HTML, meaning that the element is there in the HTML, but it's just hidden. So in that case, an exception of type element not visible is thrown. And then we have a second type of exception that is thrown by Selenium, and that is no such element exception. That's exactly what you just saw at ultimateqa.com. And when do you think that exception is thrown? Well, it's thrown when there is no such element on the page. So in the Ultimate QA's case, we were looking for an element by ID success. There was no such element present. Hence, no such element exception was thrown. Okay? And so what I've done here for the exercise for you is I have the tests. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tests. Okay? 2 of which are new. One test here goes to this URL called hidden element URL. We can take a look at it here. Hidden element URL. Okay, so in here there is an element present, but we can actually open it up so that you can see. And then there's an element present, and then it sets an implicit wait and clicks, which is this method right here. So it just sets an implicit wait and checks for an element with ID finish. Okay, let me pull up the browser. Go to this URL. And now inspect this area here. And so then we're looking for finish, right? So finish, look, we have 2 elements. Well, we're not looking for this JavaScript function. What we're looking for is for this element with ID finish. Okay, and it's there. Okay, so that's why I said it's a hidden element URL, and the other one is the element rendered after URL. So it means that the element is rendered after you click the button. Let me show you this one. So we're looking for finish. Just be careful. Make sure you retype your query. Retype your query after you reload, because you saw in the beginning it didn't find anything, but then after I retyped it did find the JavaScript function. But the JavaScript function is meaningless because we're looking for an element with ID, and there is no element with ID finish. So it's rendered after you perform a certain action, so it's not on the page. So explain those tests to you. So those are the 2 tests. And what I've done for each of these tests is I've placed this attribute called expected exception. So I'm expecting that each of these tests will throw a specific type of an exception. So this one will be a no element not visible exception, and this one will be an element not visible exception. Then this one will be a no such element exception, and so on and so forth for all of the tests, with the goal of making each of the tests pass, because I know the exact conditions of each element, and I know whether an implicit wait will work or will not. So the problem that I have for you is the expected exceptions that I've placed on each of these test methods. Are they correct? So for example, if I run all of these tests, will all of them pass? Will this test right here, test 1, throw an element not visible exception, or will it throw a no such element exception? Will this test right here throw a no such element exception, or an element not visible exception, or even something else that I didn't show you yet? That is what you have to figure out. You need to go ahead and think about it, Think about the state of the elements that we're looking for. Think about whether an implicit wait will work or will not, and then figure that out. When you come back, I'll give you the answer.